Hi, I'm Derek Barry, your host, and welcome to hashtag Poetry Goes Viral, an online reading series with Carolina poets. The idea of this series is that we're in the middle of the pandemic, so we can't go out to open mics and poetry readings and poetry festivals and all of the amazing readings that we like to go to. So we are trying to make a space online for people to share their work, to sell their books, and to spread the word of poetry. We have three poets with us this evening. They are Chris Menezes. Hello, hello. We have Zorina Frey.
Hey.
And Barry Dickson.
Hello.
So you're going to hear from each of these poets tonight. I'm going to pull them off of the stream real quick. So it's going to be just my sweaty and slightly unmoisturized face. But, don't worry about that. I won't be here for long. Let me introduce the first reader of the evening. If this is your first time tuning in, we do this every Thursday at 7 o'clock. One of the ideas is we try to bring in poets who have some kind of connection with the Carolinas. That's South Carolina and North Carolina. And all of our poets have some kind of connection with the Carolinas. Our first poet, Chris Menezes, lived in Raleigh for a few years and also attended the Converse College low-res MFA program, which is located in South Carolina. I think it's South Carolina, right? Yes, it is South Carolina. It's in the Carolinas and has a really great faculty of poets from and living in the Carolinas. Let me tell you a little bit more about Chris. He has an MFA in poetry from Converse College and has BA in creative writing from CSU Long Beach. His work has appeared in various journals, including Switchback, Rip Rack, Goldman Review, Buck Off Magazine, Foliate Oak, and others. He works as a freelance writer and construction worker in Southern California, where he lives with his wife and dog. And I hope he will tell us his dog's name. And my favorite part about any Zoom call is when the dog comes into the room. So, just cross your fingers. That's always like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it'll happen. When he isn't writing, he enjoys surfing, playing music, and spending time with friends and family. So let's ride the wave of poetry with Chris Menezes.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Derek, for having me on here. Gonna just kind of dive in. Have a few poems to go through. I'll just jump in. The first one is called 2018 Go Going. This was one of the most recent poems that was published in the Goldman Review. 2018 Go Going. A self-pushed Adderall to add to me, to add to the economy, so I could get by or keep up and make enough and do enough without ever feeling like it's enough. Who set the bar? Does it still glisten gold, or does it glow with what we're told it's worth, like numbers on a desktop backed up by a plugged wall socket? Amphetamines is a $15 billion industry. It made the 60s go-go, experimenting with free dum-dum-dum, poor hippies with their poor love, poor communists, poor socialists, poor Cesar Chavez, poor Dolores Huerta, poor king, poor dreams. There's a big hot sun beating down, and we can't afford to slow down. All right. This next one is called Pillbox Dilemma. It's in two parts. One, the president on TV looks like some bullshit kid, mouth spewing slogans, shrink wrapped in stars and bars sentiment. Talks about those good, hard-working Americans grinding 10-hour days, 6 days a week, credit spending in shopping malls, drive swimming through prescription commercials that pour through car windows and gush out speakers. Side effects include dizziness, nausea, weight loss, weight gain, headaches, vomiting, increased hunger, thirst, anxiety, paralysis, bankruptcy, suicide, and death. He says the real threat is over the border, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, the Mexican, as TV keeps flashing color light showing terror meter for today. Then it occurs to me that all this directs my desires' eye inward, so I care nothing but protecting personal freedoms and earned cash possessions. My culture is a sales-pitch distraction, advertising highways, byways, numbways, freeways, inways, and rich ways that trample the meek and leads to one's sick self. 2. The vagrant's rags drag on street, tattered at ankles and knees, holding citizens in brown wrinkled bag. Sleeps beneath business ads with beard gan pillows smashed like two praying hands. Shiny shoes scurry through the sad scene. The beggar dreams to the sound of 1,000 steps, on their way to lunch dates with computer screens, too late to eat or consider the life they pass. But I don't care now because my pillbox is empty, and I just want to find a soul who understands the paradox of capitalism and love, or the concepts of currency and God, because I'm ready to die sick, broke, and alone. All right. This next poem is kind of about my grandfather. He died this past year. So this is just kind of a recalling a memory, I guess. It's called The Hayloft. I remember massive horseflies buzzing the windowsills, tapping against glass. I remember the office trailer, the haystacks in the back, how we stacked forts of straw among groaning diesel trucks that lumbered in, kicking up gray dust, stopping with a wheeze, a hiss, and squeal of brakes, sighing. I remember my grandfather's secretary, Vicky, her blonde, curly hair and country accent. I remember her letting us drink coffee, the burnt smell of loose grinds on the hot plate, the smell of cigarettes burning, the powdered creamer and pink Sweet and Low packets. I remember my grandfather's desk, his Garfield pencil holder, paperweight, and ashtray, how he never wrote anything down, having never learned how, not in English nor Portuguese, but instead filed everything Vicky said away in his brain. I remember making copies of my handprint on the warm surface of the copy machine. I remember when he had to shut his business down. I remember tracking down flies, trapping them with my palm against the window, carefully grabbing their bodies between my thumb and forefinger. I remember dipping them in styrofoam cups of water, holding them down for a good 5 minutes. I remember laying their wet bodies on the ground outside, Dano and I burying them under mounds of sugar. I remember waiting for them to come back to life, waiting for the powdery grains to soak the water from their lungs. I remember watching them break the white surface and crawl out sticky and dry, fluttering their wings, but unable to fly. Right. So these next few poems, I was written around 2008. My wife, she was she had diagnosed with colon cancer and went through chemo and everything. She's good now, but so these were written in there around that time. Shifts. The 10-inch incision stapled down her hollow stomach tests the strength and delicacy of her skin as she sprawls languid on a mechanical bed. The clear plastic tube protruding from her torso collects yellow pancreatic fluid in a grenade-shaped balloon. A consequence of unsteady hands reaching into intestines, cutting and pulling out long strands of winding colon, needles, hooks, stents, plugs, blood, consumed by a growing darkness, blooming in bouquets of stem and stalk, tubers decorating her bedside. My cot is folded in the corner behind her rack. My cot is folded in the corner behind her bed, next to an aluminum rack hanging aqueous sacks. I push the red dot on her morphine remote every 30 minutes as she sleeps, so she doesn't wake from pain. Nurses shift in and out, shadows of clipboards and pencils, names in black marker on a whiteboard. I feel embarrassed introducing myself as her boyfriend, because that is not what I am now. She's more machine now than human, Obi-Wan Kenobi says from the television. This is another afternoon. Yellow lilies, pink roses, and blue orchids color her hospital room. The TV murmurs people's court judgments. Midday light flashes between the shades. She's half awake, rolls over, pulls the stiff sheets up to her cheeks as the get well soon balloons slump at her side next to me. This next one is called Treatment. This is in 3 parts. So 1, we squeezed into a single recliner and watched movies on my laptop. All chemicals burned in her bloodstream, numbing her fingers and toes. I accompanied her half the time. She was alone the other half, save the 6 others in chairs beside her, sharing stories, diagnosis, photos of children, dogs, spouses. So when one recliner was found empty, it left a hole. 2, she won't lose her hair, but she chops it pixie short because she can. Nausea medicines are expensive, scarcely effective, and give her tremors. Nurses say marijuana works best, but doctors are afraid to recommend it. So I text a friend. 3, the man slouching at his desk at the check-in counter says, "I'm sorry, ma'am, this happens all the time," and denies her treatment. To her surprise, he says her employment and health insurance have been terminated. "There's nothing we can do," he says. She looks at the side door, blocking her view of the treatment room, and says, "I hope they don't think I'm dead." All right. This next one is in the form of a letter. To whom it may concern. I hereby cancel my current Blue Crucifix insurance plan. I wish to no longer pay for the rising cost of healthcare every month, especially to a billion-dollar company that provides me with neither financial nor emotional confidence, but exploits my fear of tragedy by raising my rates every year. I choose to risk bankruptcy in the face of medical misfortune than to feed your obese bank accounts. I will save my pre-existing sanity from the madness of trying to hold an insurance company accountable to my medical bills, like using a wet weasel as a life preserve in a rushing river. I will not be counted among the strands of letters and numbers stretch across your barren shores, lip cracked and stinging with salt. Sincerely, member 0013XMBL6667. P.S. Go fuck yourself. All right, let's see, let's have a few more. Doubling down. My financial advisor wants to sell me disability insurance. He's going to research the dangers of writing and let me know the cost-benefit analysis of losing my hands. I didn't have the heart to tell him I barely make rent. His mouth dropped at my lack of medical insurance. At least you have term life, he says, but you might want to consider a whole life. I love a whole life. I'm trying to decide how much I should invest into my wife's death. Is $60 a month worth a $60,000 payout? In the end, she has had cancer, but it's been 10 years since then. Remission definitely lowers my odds. Should I go all in or take her out once a month to a movie? We could splurge on popcorn, soda, and candy. Okay. This is aftermath. So me and my wife, we had a series of miscarriages when we were trying to have kids. So this poem was written after the third miscarriage. It's called Aftermath, following miscarriage 3. I felt divided, like an elephant taken from his family, taught to stand and kneel for a conductor, so everyone can make some money off of families, for families, because of family. which you and I tried to create with animals. When we bought our chocolate puppy, we inhaled her sweet life in the blankets of our bed, on the couch, in the kitchen, and then her smell blended like everything else does. We stopped craving meat, ate baby greens and beets, thought good health would increase our chances. Moved to North Carolina and lived on baked potatoes. I loved my little round spud the most right before it was cut in two, pulled apart and smashed. And now I find myself on the aftermath of Jason's bachelor party back in San Diego in the Golden Hill Shopping Center, staring at an overflown trash receptacle, popcorn buckets, soda cups, bubble wands, plus nursing a bottled water outside a coffee shop, plus waiting for cousin Rochelle to pick me up, times being dropped off by Daniel, my brother, so he could get back to his newborn daughter, times high as fuck from smoking in his car, divided by riding for the first time in a year, suppressed with the unborn, family, career, equaling at war, listening to Third Eye Blind's motorcycle drive-by, crying cigarette ashes out of my eyes, trying to feel alive as an adorned elephant of the East, masked and golden in a foreign land, longing to go back. Though I know California is expensive, ranks low in education, can get awful hot in summer, not cold enough in winter, we should just forget about temperature altogether, talk about ourselves and not feel selfish, show our scars and bruises, talk shit on this gift from our creators, death. Oh, how every believer, non-believer, sometimes believer, utterly confused, long for you at times, in true worship, on a plane between sales conferences, babysitting nephews and nieces. Our last attempt at family was with Walnut the bunny. I loved how I could cradle him against my chest and bury my face in his fur. Okay, so I think just a few minutes. I have two more. This one is called Scars. It's in 3 parts also. You see, I like to write different parts of my poems. All right, Scars. 1. This one, she said, pointing above her left ankle, is from when I was 6 or 7. I was at work with Mom, cleaning a daycare, carrying a trash bag, swinging it like this, whistling. There was broken glass in it, sliced all the way here. I remember seeing bone and screaming. Mom was mad, didn't even look, just threw a rag at me. I waited in the car while she finished. This one, she said, pointing at a smaller one, happened when I was in junior high. Mom was yelling, and she threw a coffee mug. It hit the wall and shattered on the ground. As I was running away, I fell and landed on a shard. I didn't even cry. I didn't want to, not in front of her. 2. When the windshield splintered into your face before our wedding, embedding slivers of glass, teardrops in your left cheek, forehead, and chin, it did more than puncture and bruise. It sealed glass remnants into your skin, a constellation of pain. Years later, after we moved to that 1-bedroom apartment in North Carolina, I sold ads all day and served tables at night. You boiled black beans and lentil soup to sustain the tissue growing in your belly. It hit us like a car crash when everything stopped. The two of us left in the rubble of the marriage, stuck and spinning against a brick wall. 3. I love the one that stretches the length of your torso, from your waist, hooking around your belly button up below your ribs. A root running down the center of your body, veining out, holding you together. If I tugged at it and uprooted the long, thick cord, like the doctor pulling out your intestines, your limbs would lift, like petals closing, shielding you from heaven's glare, then drop and spread, unraveling. Your room, empty and beautiful, an open blossom. Okay, so this is the last one. It's in 3 parts also. It's all just going. So the second part is actually in a form called the ghazal, which is a Persian poetry form. So here's kind of the strict guidelines. But the first one is more free form. So it's called Losing It, the War. From the newspaper headlines. He was a 26-year-old veteran, served in Afghanistan, before barricading himself in his father's craftsman-style home in Grand Terrace, California. Waiting on the couch, gripping a gun, pointing it at the television, firing, glass shattering. Police blocked the street with yellow caution tape, SWAT van arrived, helicopter chopped the sky. Sharpshooters spread themselves across rooftops of neighboring homes, recreating a war zone. He saw them outside, crouched near an open window, automatic rifle in hands, and sprayed bullets out the sill. Bits of grass and soil sputtered up from the lawn. Police fired at the house, then waited, listening for movement. They heard a motorcycle fire up and rumble from inside. The garage door clanged and rattled open, rolling up like a steel curtain. He emerged, zooming down the driveway, trying to get away. Pop, 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 pop. His body hit the asphalt. 2. This is the guzzle. He walked with his hands behind his back, observing the dead, overseeing those who washed the blood off each face of the dead, who dressed each body in a clean uniform, pressed each pin in metal, reflecting halogen light on the second chest of the dead. Bodies like lifeless dolls on a bed, an American flag blanket for every sleeping child of the dead. When he was relieved to go home, his duty fulfilled, he flew to Vegas, his head bursting with images of the dead. He tried to bury them under mounds of white cocaine, plunged them into a sea of whiskey, and tossed dice just to see the yellow snake eyes of the dead. Staring into the void, Christ, he says, how do you kill what cannot die? Use a pistol, taste the metal, join the blowing trumpets of the dead. 3. 2 of my friends are veterans. Their units took fire in Afghanistan, the longest war in American history, spanning 2 decades, an entire generation. 20 of their buddies have killed themselves since coming home. 4. Numbers don't lie. 20 plus veterans take their life every day, roughly one every 65 minutes. 300 veterans are currently confined to concrete cells on death row in America. $3 billion is the average annual profit of Lockheed Martin, a Virginia-based corporate arms dealer. $24.4 million is how much their CEO made in 2019. 69 out of 109 Lockheed Martin lobbyists have been government employees. 100 plus other companies are profiting from the war. $935.8 billion is what the US government spent on military and defense in 2020, over half of our discretionary budget. $69 billion is spent fighting the war on terror. $4 million is taken out of taxpayers' wallets every hour to finance the war. 38.1 million people in America live in poverty. Oh, does that star-spangled banner yet wave through the red glare and rockets of bombs bursting in air? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chris. If you want to check out Chris's work, I'm going to post it again really quickly into the chat so that you can read his poems. He also offers, I believe, some services like writing content copy, blogs, press releases. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, this website that I'm about to put to the post, oh, there it goes, is the place to go. That was incredibly moving and personal and amazing. We're going to move on to our next reader of the evening. So this, Chris is a former graduate of the Converse College program. This next reader is a current student of the program. Her name is Zorina Frey, and she is streaming in all the way from Miami, Florida, which, I know it's December, but I'm just going to assume that it's sunny and bright and incredibly warm there. Which, if any of you are watching from up north, you're like, isn't it incredibly warm in South Carolina? Kind of. Zorina Frey is an author, an essayist, screenwriter, and a spoken word artist living in Miami, Florida. She is the founder of 45magazine.com. I'm going to put that link in the chat in just a few minutes. And works as a publishing content writer and graphic designer. So just doing everything. Zorina is also a contributing editor for South 85 Journal. I love that journal, by the way. It's fantastic. Her work has been published in Shondaland, Filter.org, Voyage MIA, Worcester Business Journal, Indiana University, South Bend, Michiana Monologues, and Alexa and New Views on Gender. She is the recipient of the Lester M. Wolfson Literary Award for her screenplay, The Means. Her poems and short stories have won several South Florida Writers Association's awards. She has performed as the featured artist for the Miami Book Fair, which, if you don't know what it is, it's this huge book fair. I think one of the biggest book fairs in the United States, as well as Broward College's Music, Film, Literature, and Arts Festival, Miami-Dade College's Art and Letters Day, and Lip Service, True Stories Out Loud. Her post-apocalyptic trilogy, Thelka Dark Romance, was independently published in 2020 under her pen name ZXC. Zorina is also the MFA candidate at Converse College. So without further ado, let's bring on Zorina Frey. Like a wrestler. I don't know why I did that, but Zorina Frey, put your hands together.
Woo! Hey everybody, what's going on? I only got 20 minutes, so I'm going to keep this going. I want to thank Andrew Clark for inviting me and giving me a space to share my poetry, and Derek Barry for that great introduction. I felt like I needed to run and come in, but my voice yelling, that's the best I can do. So I am in the middle of getting my I just started my MFA program this year, 2020, it took a minute to figure out what the heck I wanted to write about, because I knew what I wanted to write about, but I just couldn't articulate it. So what I'm going to share today is studies. Well, my focus on my MFA is about why poetry matters, how it's still relevant to business writing in reference to my experience as a copywriter, and how these reasons fortuitously correlate specifically with the Black community's redline social and cultural situations. And so my thesis will involve poetic anecdotes from a Black woman's perspective. And so I'm going to share some of those poems with you today, as well as some of my tried and true spoken word performance pieces. So let's start off with Lady Liberty, that was shopped in Converse College. I am worth something. If I'm not offering myself and profitable possibilities, they don't want me. When I'm new and shiny, the light kisses my bronze temples, men look away in disdain, making me believe that I'm not enough when actually they can't get enough of me. I'm worth something. I mean something. People have built monuments using me, then walk past, barely acknowledging me. Overused, abused. The ones before me who have contributed to this nation traded and discarded me as too old, dirty, obsolete. I am the backbone of this nation, the denomination of this nation. You can't essentially operate this economy without me. Try as you might, you can't take away the worth. I'm worth something. The almighty penny, copper straw, valuable like gold, currency. To get rich, you need me. The truth is, you can't succeed without somehow using me, shiny or dirty. I'm worth something. My value is priceless, a precious metal, never just a token. However you try to use me, my spirit will intuitively deregulate, never to be broken. Worth. This next poem is entitled Celebrity Status, and it will be featured in the upcoming Of Poets and Poetry magazine. Promising, oh, whoa, sorry. I got to give you the backstory on this one. Sorry. So I lost. I entered this poetry slam, and I lost, and I thought I was going to win because I was in Natick, Massachusetts. And if you know what that is, it's basically like a really white town, like the type of white town where nothing ever bad happens there until it does. So I'm the only Black poet in this poetry slam, and I'm thinking I pretty much got it in the bag because I'm saying Black stuff, right? So it usually works for me it just does coming from the Midwest. And so I go in and I lose, and I'm like, what the heck? And so I shared this with my writing group, and they're like, well, why would you even think that you would win just because you're Black? Like, isn't that like the thing that you don't want to be identified as? I'm like, yeah, why did I think that way? And so it took some digging for me to figure out why. And this poem pretty much answered that question for me. So here we go, for real this time. Celebrity Status. Promising beginnings of a new year always start off hopeful. Phone calls, bookings, school events, community organizations finally notice me with pay. Flyers, promos, bios, photos, correlating dates, figuring out vacation days, requesting time off, buying a new outfit to show off. Event coordinator greets me in the lobby, treating me like red carpet royalty. Be our guest, be our guest, be the belle of our ball. Green room butler offers bottled water with mini Cheez-Its. Welcoming couch cushion folds me in, wrinkling my button up. Let me take your coat, ask if I need anything else. Urban Arts wants a recording of my voice. An African American inner city anthology. A beast on the mic. My tongue spins roses, pricking the last stanza. The clock strikes 12. I bit the apple. It's time to sleep. Like God said to Eve, it's time to leave. I thought it was because I had talent. Turns out I have dark melanin. Public television, lights, camera, blaction. It's February. Who's Black? Book that, forget that. It's time to march madness. Dreaming. I'm a celebrity in February. All I had to do was just show up, be Black. So some organizations can affirm they're going to heaven or getting another grant. The next poem is entitled, How Rich Do You Have to Be to Eat Fruit from a Tree? And this kind of reflects on my MFA studies where I'm really pretty much focusing on growing up on a block that was redlined. Depending on the block that I grew up as a kid, my family was the only Black family on the block. And depending on which way you went, if you went one way, then you would, the whole neighborhood would be white. And if you went the other way, then there was just a mixture of races. So the block that I was in was redline, and I pretty much live that now. and so I'm exploring that also in my poetry. And so this is, here's the poem. Rocky alleys serve as shortcuts toward the Black side of my neighborhood. Red line quiet. We were respectful. Our neighbor's Doberman was not. His white owners loved their Black dog they kept fenced in their backyard. Another white neighbor had a green apple tree that hung over the alley, providing us a bitter offering I tasted as the Doberman's warning barked. The next poem that I'm going to read is entitled P Stands for Justice. Now, I got to give you an intro to this. So I'm writing these little short poems that are about urinating. It's not like I woke up with a pen and said, I'm going to write about some urination. No, it wasn't like that at all. Just with prompts and Zoom meetings that I'm in with writing groups, and these are the things that just came up, and so I just let it sit, let these little poems sit, and I figured, okay, one day, which was not that long ago, I'm just going to compile all these little urination poems. I hear myself saying it, these little urination poems, and see what this is all about. So it turns out something actually came of this. So what I'm going to do is between each little poem, I'm going to sip some tea because to follow the punchline of the poem, because that's what I was doing when I was actually rehearsing this. And it turned out that it seemed like a great part of the act. So here we go. P stands for justice. And at this point, P is PEE. Circa 2015, my coworkers and I Ubered to happy hour in Coral Gables. Nobody and everybody's hood. Cuban, Haitian, Turkish, Mexican, Arab, European, African, American, me. Tapas chased down with white Russians and reggaeton beats. Slurred speech accompanies laughter and selfies. Bar hopping adventure, blonde hair and blue eyes strides into America's alley to pee with no tissue. I, with a full bladder, look out for the nearest proper public facilities. Circa 2005. My coworker and I drive to a party in Niles, Michigan. White people playing rap music. Cheers, bottle, blue ribbon, testosterone, stays Africa's rolling plains. Their eyes hunt my gazelle legs, my caramel continents, my kissed lips, my inner fight, the lioness considering. Blue and gray eyes scowling. Move, bitch, get out the way. Ludicrous booms through whitewashed speaker boxes. My music betraying me. It's okay. You're with me. Now, I'm the white girl in her hood, walking me back to my hatchback. She relieves herself and shrugs. America's front yard with no tissue. Circa 1983. We played Luke, Han, Leia, and Godzilla. Eric had the Millennium Falcon. He lived further down my white block, far enough for me to ask to use his bathroom. He refused. I can't. My father says because you're black. To which I replied with a swinging closed fist, a reflex. Since it's frowned upon for me to pee in a bush, I rode my big wheel home to relieve myself. Eric's dad at my doorstep, disdainful attitude, beholding his son's bloody face like a crystal ball, flexing white privilege. My mother's 1930s mentality kicked in. She picked a twig to whip me, a crime now, legal when whites did it. Circa 1980. My block occupies all white folks. My friends, Mark and Amy, live around the corner, playing Star Wars with baby dolls. When I used their bathroom, I wasn't allowed to close the door. They watched to see if I peed black. When they found it to be yellow, Mark wiped the toilet seat with white tissue, erasing my existence. Circa 1974. I live between two different worlds, one black, the other white. My mother's light-skinned melanin tells me Yankee blood swims beneath the bedrock of our family river, where some people pee. That's it. That's my P stands for prejudice poem. My next poem is Breakfast in Northport, Long Island, New York. The weathered bell above the white painted peeling doorway clatters an unknown tune to the backdrop of morning feet scuffling in from the excitement of a fenced-in Ferris wheel. I face the window. Residents' blushed cheeks turn pink from the autumn breeze the lake rejects. Kids with well-funded educations skip by for ice cream and cotton candy. Main Street closed off for high school marching bands, the highest form of entertainment the town allows. Their children featured in a parade, watering seeds, watching them grow. And the secret white pod of privilege, Black girl go home. The waitress body language blisters, refusing to water my empty glass, passing our table serving incoming patrons. I pass time studying my menu of options, retorts, rebuttals, and complaints. I'm used to it. I just wait. She finally waits, impatient, face weathered from a hard life of hate. No forgiveness, no eye contact. What will you have? A heaping full of respect, a side of justice and equity, decaf coffee with cream, and the satisfaction of blessing a working class racist with a generous tip from a Black woman. That one deserves some tea. Okay, so the next one is an environmental poem entitled Scorn. The truth, she had been raped. She was taken, or was she given because she was neglected? When a wife is rejected, affection is misbalanced. Black jewels plunder under pressure, pressed, beaten under immense heat to shine, to be destroyed. Bruised womb multiplies life. Everyone wants her diamonds that cut, that can't be broken, reflecting spectrums, donning multiple colors, worth is weight in gold, sold, freed, monetized. Strange trees bearing fruit, seeds aborted. Planned Parenthood assists to keep our race from hanging from wire hangers. Make love to make her bloom. Gently wet her soil with fertile fingertips. Put in work, you're back into it. Don't be quick to plow your soul in someone else's soil unless you're willing to adopt fruit you don't even want or like dandelions you have no need for, only to learn her leafy wings can also be monetized. How can you treat a wife right when you frack without foreplay? Apologizing flowers, but won't let the bees be, whacking forestry to wax barren. Rape her virtue, building things that sting clouds. Asthmatic, she finds breath in creation, wheezing hurricanes, constipated earthquakes, sneezing whirlwinds of tornadoes, filtering water, flooding rivers, menopausal equator, sweating. So the next poem I'm going to do is a spoken word performance piece. Eventually, I'll know some of those other ones by heart too. This one is entitled "Spiritual Alarm." It it was inspired from the Philando Castile shooting, and it's actually published in my book entitled "Don't Mind Being Black," and it's on that's on Amazon as well. Or did I say it? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, spiritual alarm. I've suddenly become a fan of the right to bear arms because what I'm hearing and seeing is ringing some type of historical alarm. I've suddenly become a fan of the right to bear arms because what I'm hearing and seeing is ringing some type of spiritual alarm. Black men dying and the murder barely getting tried. Depending on where you're from, it's either outrage or justified. Honestly, the brutality doesn't surprise me. The issue is this was televised and the murderers went free. So how many more will have to settle that score when people are playing roulette in the middle of a pandemic? Scaredy cats with straps can't be shooting because we're black, and I don't give a fuck if I was talking smack, because the U.S. Constitution is supposed to have my back, and I can't act like this doesn't affect me because I have some people who share the same DNA as me. And all I can do is just pray, tell them to stay off the streets, find a God-given purpose, and go get that gun permit. Educate yourself and mind your own business, because there are a bunch of Zimmermans who cower at the black man. Really, your best defense is to use wit. Don't be stupid, reject handouts, find a legal way to cash out. You got to be smart in these last days when that law is being executed like Roe v. Wade. You've been given the tools to deal with these dudes, and tearing up your community just isn't the way to do it, dude. That's probably what they want you to do. See, our culture has the decency to overcome this indecency. Check our history. I'm not talking about the internet or TV. I'm talking about Alabama, Montgomery. The solution is time for us to come together economically, support each other's businesses to get some businesses, because a house divided against itself cannot stand. Other races know that, and that's why they have banks. We have a history of getting our families torn apart and sold. Black fathers not coming home against their will. And there are many generations who are still recovering from it. And after all these years, we're just expected to just get over it. Meanwhile, there are multi-million-dollar facilities to treat the generational curse of the alcoholic. I'm saying things aren't right and things aren't fair, but every knee will bow and confess when it's time to meet their maker. You won't be able to blame it on anyone else because you have to account for you. It's kind of like that in the court of law. So use caution on whatever you're about to do. I've suddenly become a fan of the right to bear arms because what I'm hearing and seeing is ringing some type of historical alarm. I've suddenly become a fan of the right to bear arms because what I am hearing and seeing is ringing some type of spiritual alarm. All right, we're moving on to the next spoken word piece. This one is an old one. I thought I took that one out. I don't know what. Just looking at my time here. I'm going to go ahead and just do it. Ethnocentric. You blame me for those who won't overcome, but then despise me for achieving. Black power? No, I'm not racist, but some of y'all are just plain two-faced. To complain about a sect that is as ignorant as yours, the difference is you cover up yours and call it the norm. And I'm not talking against whites, I'm talking about elites, whether in a religious denomination or in a political fleet. In the masses, some of y'all can kiss my assets. Maybe instead of complaining about the next dude, why not try and walk a mile in his shoes? Consider the mindset of a Republican pre-Trump, as well as a Democrat. Without a secure country, there could be world war, believe that. But without someone to govern our cities, there could be civil war and contaminated water mixed with feces. You hear me, but don't believe me. Got me mixed up with a weeping pool without a remedy. See, God isn't mad. So why are you? Confidence turned high-mindedness. That's how Lucifer falls. Yeah, we have the gall to get mad. See, I don't see any nails in anybody's hands. See, if you're not humble, well, then in a minute, your wall will tumble. Believe that. I've seen that. No man can run from that. Those are just facts. God has my back. And even if my mind draws blank, that's game. Russian roulette. I spared you, babe. Place your bets if you want to. Write me off. I dare you. My enemies will be put to shame, all for the glory of his name. No weapon formed against me will prosper. Not even the quickest tongue will accuse me. Isaiah 56:17. So exactly what is your purpose on setting to sedate me? Because it isn't me led to tell it like it is. No one's good. No one's perfect. No, not one. You just lost one. You blame me for those who won't overcome, but then despise me for achieving it. Everything I do makes you grit your teeth, and everything I achieve makes you green with envy. Well, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's you. And perhaps the thing, the person, The issue that you really have a problem with is you. All right. My last poem here is Wonder Girl. This was shopped in my MFA program. So here we go. Is this my last one? Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, it is. Okay, this one is called Wonder Girl, and this one was originally written, inspired by the Wonder Woman movie that I watched. And I am really excited for Christmas because I'm going to watch it, not at the theater. I will be watching it on HBO. Yes, yes, Wonder Woman. All right, here we go. The origin of a Wonder Girl comes from humble means. No extra things, only what she needs. Gifts are given, discovered, and pondered as she comes into her own. False friends don't like it. Most men despise it. The workforce pretends she doesn't exist. A duchess with an alias, still, the world can see her awesomeness. In a bubble where men are supposed to be savvier, it became a priority to belittle her. Give her a nemesis. The CEO enjoys this. Take her down a notch. Control her. Not to destroy her, boss man needs her. Try as he might, he cannot Frankenstein her. Create the mold, but never the soul. There's an island of warriors just like her. Men with no vision ignore the signs and wonders. God is with her. God is her father. He fights for her. He is her warrior. Those who challenge her, challenge him. We've all fallen from grace into a dark place. Still, it'll be too late when this little nation understands whose fate they try to erase in her face with an olive branch, pretending her fight is theirs, disguised in pure sight. She was raised by queens, by warriors, from a lineage of women who helped men conquer. It's in her blood, her DNA, to help men find their way. She will prevail. She will have the victory. She's a princess. Enemies don't seem to get that, doing their best to tarnish her shine, her identity. They deny wanting it as their own, pimping her skills, trying to make gold, deceived by their own greed. A villain for sure. A lifelong nemesis? No, I don't think so. Her reward is conquering the world, a wonder girl in a league of her own. She'll always win, she holds her own. Her father sits on a throne, she is never alone. She crosses her arms as protection, as a shield, as a weapon. I clasp my hands in prayer as protection, as a shield, as a weapon. She is I, and I am her. Thank you. Oh, do I have time to to plug in some things? I'm gonna until you like take me out. So my website is zorinafrey.com. It's just how it's spelled at the bottom of the screen there. And there you will find links to 45 Magazine. You'll find some of the books of poetry that I've written, as well as my trilogy, dark romance novel, which is hot. You better get it. So, and also some other great things. So zorinafrey.com. If you want to just skip that and go straight to 45 Magazine, do not Google 45 Magazine. You will just get a whole lot of ammo. That's for 45 Magazine. You want to just go into your URL and type 45magazine.com, and that will take you directly to the literary journal. And then there's also South 85 Journal as well. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the poems, and I guess I'll just turn it over to Derek.
Hello, thank you so much, Zarina. That was really incredible. Like Zarina mentioned, the links for the poems are off to the right. So if you look in the comment section of wherever you're watching from, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or the other Facebook, then you can find her website, zarina-frey.com. You can also see 45magazine.com and the south85journal.com. Thank you. That was amazing. I'm going to bring this on. Ooh, look at that. I'm going to introduce our third and final reader of the night. I am making his poetry book cover as big as possible on the screen, so you'll see that. It is called Maybe Today. Barry Dickson, his connection to the Carolinas, he is currently living in Hilton Head, South Carolina, which is a really beautiful place to go. You know, it's the type of place where you can go in November and like swim in the ocean. It will be really cold. It'll be very, very cold, but you could technically swim in the ocean, just be kind of miserable the whole time. Barry Dickson is a retired creative director on Madison Avenue. His poetry and prose have appeared in a variety of journals, print and online, including North American Review, Pearl Literary Magazine, Hazmat Literary Review, which I feel like we're all just wearing hazmat suits at this point, so that might be a good literary review to check out, and his favorite, AsininePoetry.com. He's been a finalist for the Hearst Poetry Prize and received a special mention in the Pushcart Prize. His poetry collection, Maybe Today, which you can see the cover of, will be released on April 2021. And maybe he can tell you a little bit about how to pre-order that and how to find that online. He is currently shopping his book, Barry Who? 33 Unforgettable Micro Memoirs from Someone You Never Heard of. He lives on Hilton Head Island. Without further ado, please welcome to the screen, to the stage, Barry Dickson.
Thank you, Derek. Derek's right. I am Barry Dickson. I want to thank Andrew Clark also for inviting me down here, and the whole Carolina Poets for welcoming this Yankee, who is now a South Carolinian, living on Hilton Head and enjoying it. It's great down here. I wish I had come earlier. Come on down, everybody. Well, not everybody, just a few at a time. I do have the new book coming out, Maybe Today, from Cherry Grove Collections. And I'm going to read you poems from that collection. It's coming out in April. So we're a little ahead of the game here. I don't have a pre-order link set up yet. But remember, Maybe Today. First poem is the first poem in Maybe Today. The Adverbial World of Match.com. Your profile says that you are quite. It also states you can be very, sometimes even very, very. In addition, I see that you are partly and slightly, not to mention mostly, though you did mention it 9 times. Thanks for writing, but I'm looking for someone who's extremely. I also have a soft spot in my heart for highly, but there I'll try to compromise. One place, however, I will not bend. You mentioned several times you never. Forgive me, please. I'd like someone who at least occasionally, and frankly, even at my age, I wouldn't mind a mate who often. Thank you. Every year at this time, I like to bring this poem out. It is approximately this time of year is the anniversary of my mother's birthday. And it's just a short one, 7 lines. It has an epigraph: in memory, Lillian Davis Dixon Siswine. And the title is Message from My Late Mother to All Governments. Here, here, no fighting. Stop it. Be careful with that. You'll hurt someone. All right, you guys, knock it off. No hitting, no hitting. I don't care who started it, no hitting. Don't leave this place looking like a cyclone hit it. What in the world is going on? Now look what you've done. So, also from the collection, a prose poem. Now, this is a genre that's a little controversial. Some people say it's not poetry, prose poem. I say it is. And this is a prose poem that is written as a letter. So what genre does that fit in? Beats me. I don't know, but here it is. Dear Citibank, thank you for the warning you sent that this was my last chance to take advantage of your 0% credit card offer. Thank you for the mailing a month later, also marked on the envelope, last chance. And for the one 6 weeks after that, again labeled last chance. Thank you especially for the 2 last chances that followed that the next week. 5 last chances. If only we all had such patience in our human intercourse. But wait, there's more. When my 6th last chance arrived this morning, I could hardly contain myself. Is there no limit to your indulgence? Is hoping there's yet another last chance en route asking too much? I truly hope my most recent last chance was not my last chance, something I have dreaded ever since my first last chance. Looking forward, hopefully, to my next last chance, Barry Dickson. So, with this poem, there's only one thing you have to know, that the LEM, L-E-M, stands for Lunar Excursion Module. And it's the pod that the astronauts went from the mothership down to the moon and then back from the moon up to the mothership, that little pod. And this is called Open Poem to a Snob. When the voice of NASA said, the LEM has lifted from the moon, our men are now returning home, his timing was a little off. They were returning home when they lifted from the Earth. Scientists are now quite sure that we are all from outer space. Amino acids landing here, bubbling in primordial ooze. Please do not tell me you originate from Greenwich, summer in Newport, and winter in Palm Springs. Like me, you hail from Andromeda, Betelgeuse, Orion's buckle. Though you are quite white, who knows? You may have once been green. When the Bible says we are from dust and unto dust we shall return, that isn't dust of earth, but dust of space. You might be relieved to know that you are full of something other than yourself. Like me, you are full of stardust. So do not think you are hot stuff. You are only from hot stuff. And you didn't get here by fancy car. As with all of us, you arrived by comet. So I thought I'd throw in the middle here a couple of relationship poems. These are a little longer, get slightly more adult. This one's called Faux Real. Faux is F-A-U-X, faux real. I would not dare buy a real fur for this lovely liberal lover of the furry. So in I went to Feinstein's Furs for the best faux fur real money could buy. $1,999, Fanny Feinstein quoted. For a faux fur, I asked. There's this one over here for $7.99, she replied. Looks just as good to me. What would be the difference? This one, said Fanny, is not a real faux fur. Give me the best you got. Give me the real fake thing. Lucinda was delighted with the faux fur that I bought her. She stripped and put on her faux fur. As we made love, I did my usual yelling, though slightly muffled through faux fur. Lucinda seemed to scream a little too. Afterward, I couldn't help but wonder, was that orgasm real? I asked. She looked defensive. Have you ever faked one? I persisted. She paused. Well, you know there was the night we discussed if you could tell. Yes, I said. You claimed you had just faked one and that I didn't know, but I thought you didn't really fake it. You were just saying so. But why would I fake faking it? She asked me from her faux. The next thing that we always do is turn on the TV. There they were, the presidential candidates. You know, I said, it strikes me that they are saying what they think we want to hear. Yes, replied Lucinda, but sometimes they really do believe what they are saying. You mean that they are faking their sincerity, but sometimes they mean it when they fake? I asked, snuggling up to her and her faux fur. I finally had enough faux faking for one day and fell asleep. Soon I began to dream. Now, dreams, by definition, are all fake. You're not really flying. Your teeth aren't really falling out. But you see, dreams never are faux fake. They put on their little show and go away when you awake. They don't hang around to overcharge you or manipulate your vote or trick you with their lust. Dreams are what this world needs more of. A faker you can trust. Thank you. Here's another relationship poem. This is kind of about after the relationship, and it's about stuff that goes on between a man and a woman in bed other than sex. And it's called Pillow Talk. I have not changed pillowcases since you left 3 months ago, just to keep your scent around. Each morning I wake up spooning a quilt rolled into a Lucinda surrogate. Remember every night I would call you Toasty and you would call me Roasty? And we pledged never to reveal these embarrassments, though you feared one day they would show up in a poem, but I reassured you. Remember how we would whisper when the lights went out until it occurred to us, there's no one else here. What the heck are we always whispering for? Remember the night you woke me at 3 a.m. just to make love? And we did, and the next morning I had no recollection of it? Boy, were you pissed. By the way, if you're beautiful when you're angry is so patronizing, how come your teal blue eyes smiled every time I said it? Remember the night I told you you're the smart, funny one? And you kept saying, no, I'm the smart, funny one. And finally I said, okay, I'm the smart, funny one. And you said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Remember how I would fake snoring? The truth can now be told. I was only faking half the time. Remember the night I laughed so hard I fell out of bed and you wouldn't let me back in? And I said, okay then, I'll just get in my car and go stay in a luxury hotel somewhere. And I did. And you got in your car and followed me. And we spent that amazing night at the plaza. You know, when I returned from shopping Sunday, my friend Jack, the shrink, said he thinks I'm finally getting over you. I asked how he knew. And he said, look in the bag. And I did. And there they were, new pillowcases. I guess he didn't notice. They were teal blue. Thank you. Now, this is the title poem from the collection, Maybe Today. This poem has a long epigraph, and every event that's referred to in this poem, they all really happened. It's based on real things. The epigraph is for David Rodriguez Richardson at a Texas barbecue a 16-year-old Mexican American was beaten nearly to death by two white boys for talking to their sister. A year later, after testifying before Congress on hate crimes, he committed suicide. Maybe today, the sun descends, offended by Earth. Or is it Earth, embarrassed, turns away? Whichever, soon the great optimist, morning, will give it yet another try. Maybe today will be the day no one is dragged behind a truck because he's black, or kicked to death because he's gay. The day no man imprisons a girl, no mother drowns a child. Maybe today will be the day the cycle ends, where one man builds a building and another man flies a plane into it. I tell morning, they say doing the same thing, expecting different results, defines insanity. Morning answers. Maybe it defines optimism. Maybe today. Two more. This is one of those poems when I've discovered that when people read it, they say, "Oh, okay, that's nice. What else you got?" But when they hear it, it's very different. So it's one of those poems that kind of has to be read out loud if it's done right. This is called Prescription. Feeling a pain deep inside or occasional emptiness? Consider taking poetry. Those who are pregnant or could become pregnant should read poetry with caution. Poetry can cause you to do things that might make you pregnant. Poetry can alter the shape of your heart. In some cases, successfully publishing poetry has caused swelling of the head. Poetry makes people see things that aren't really there. It can cause drowsiness, and reactions to certain poetry have been misdiagnosed as narcolepsy. Poetry has been linked to mood swings, weeping to fits of laughter. Do not mix poetry with alcohol. The poet has taken care of that. Certain people have severe reactions to poetry. In critics, for example, it can provoke nastiness and impaired judgment. Cases of Tourette's have been reported. Readers blurting out, "Huh?" or "What the hell does that mean?" If poetry results in an erection lasting more than 4 hours, consult a hot English teacher. Ask your doctor if poetry is right for you. And let me leave you with this thought. I chose the year 1945 because of the alliteration. 45, the actual year I was born was 19... Anyway, Barry Dickson, 1945 dash. The instant you are born, you get a dash. A reminder the day life begins, that one day it will end. Guaranteed. Joe Jones, 1966 dash. Jennifer Kristen Rabinowitz, 2020 dash. Somewhere in a county seat, a very willing clerk sits ready to write a year to the right of your dash. Michael Jackson, 1958 dash 2009. You cannot have your dash removed. There are no dashectomies. You cannot get rid of your dash by living a good life. Sorry. One man does not have a bigger dash than another man. Rich people cannot cheat death by buying more dashes. Warren Buffett's dash is identical to the dash of the bag lady you passed on your way to work this morning. Nothing personal, but your dash is worthless. You cannot sell it for 1 penny or auction it on eBay. Are you a Christian? You cannot be saved from the dash. A Jew? 5,800 years of history have not removed one single dash. A Muslim? All the passion and intensity on earth will never delete your dash. a Buddhist, you have gained great wisdom. Guess what? You still have a dash. So as long as there is an empty space to the right of your dash, enjoy, live, love, learn, and be nice to that other guy. Because no matter who he is or what he's done, no matter who you are or who you think you are, I can assure you with absolute certainty that you both have a dash and a very willing county clerk. Thank you. And thank you, Derek, for inviting me down here.
Thank you so much, Barry Dickson. That was really wonderful. Just to reiterate, Barry Dickson's new poetry book, first poetry book, I believe, is going to be out in April 2021. So that's just around the corner. You can, get your vaccination and your on the exact same day. Oh, there I am. Hi. And thank you so much to Barry. Thank you to Zorina. And thank you to Chris. Thank you so much for reading for us tonight. Some of the links to their work can be found in the comment section. So maybe you're watching this like 3 weeks from now. So I know that people log on and watch it after the fact. You can scroll through that comment section, see everyone's comments, but also click on those links and find the work of these wonderful poets. This reading series takes place every Thursday at 7 p.m. Next Thursday is going to be our last show of the year before we take a break for Christmas and New Year's. We are going to be featuring the Charleston poet Catherine Williams, as well as Koyrash Ali Lansana and Jackie Shelton Green. So these are 3 powerhouse poets who are going to be closing out our year. I'm extremely excited. And then we're going to kick off our year again. I'm your host for tonight, Derek Barry. Actually, the very first date of 2021 will be my final night hosting. It's been a real pleasure hosting these poetry readings. Right now, they're every week. Tune into Carolina Poets. If you haven't liked the page or subscribed to the YouTube channel, this is a good time to do so. So you can like that page so you can see all of the future readings. All of our poets are still here. I'm going to bring you back on stream real quick so you can say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Bye, Chris. Bye, Zorina.
Yeah, great reading.
Bye. Man, I love you guys.
You guys are great.
Like my
Good night, y'all.
poet friends.
Yeah,
Good night.
Converse. Yeah, enjoy.